So I have 11 things listed down here as part of the basic account setup. And then we'll discuss this one by one. What's the difference and what's the advantage between the REsimpli in-app answering and the number forward? It will be treated as a new registration. So I can have someone from our 10 DLC team reach out to you and assist you with that. My name's Anthony for everyone. Those who don't know me. So Sharad is actually not available today to do the mastermind call. So I'll be doing the mastermind call for today. And basically the topic for today will be the basic account setup checklist. And of course, we'll do a Q&A session at the end of this call. Or you may also submit your questions in the chat during the discussion, and you may also unmute yourselves if you have any questions along the way. Okay. All right, so I guess we can start. So basically, the reason why we picked the basic account setup checklist is that we wanted to make sure that we can provide this overview of what it is or what are the most important things that needs to be set up prior to navigating your way into the platform. So I have 11 things listed down here as part of the basic account setup, and then we'll discuss this one by one. And again, just please feel free to unmute yourselves if you have any questions regarding any of these topics. Okay, cool. So first thing on the list here is 10 DLC registration. Now, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have already done this. So part of the basic account setup is the 10 DLC registration. Reason being is because the A2P 10 DLC is a mandatory requirement by the carriers to make sure that your phone numbers that you will be adding, whether it's a phone number that you're going to port in or phone numbers that you are going to purchase brand new within the platform, is registered as part of your business. Now, by default, the numbers that you'll be adding in the platform is already enabled for inbound and outbound calling and inbound texting. The only feature that is affected with the 10 DLC registration not approved and verified yet is your outbound texting capability, meaning as soon as you purchase a phone number with us, you can already start using that to make calls and to receive calls, but the outbound texting will not be enabled yet until your registration gets approved and verified. Now, one of the common questions that we get is that if ever you add more phone numbers after you're already approved and verified for 10 DLC, do you still need to register again that number for 10 DLC? So the answer to that is no need for you to register again. Instead, those new numbers that you are going to be purchasing or getting will be under that same registration that you initially submitted, which was already approved and verified. So this is actually one of the very first things that I mentioned during my call, my onboarding call or kickoff call with new users. I always mention this to them to prioritize this among other things, just to make sure that there won't be any issues with their outbound texting capability or their phone numbers. And then next to that is the call flow setup. So the call flow setup basically is a very important thing. Let me share my screen with you for better visualization. And again, please feel free to ask any questions while going through this process. All right, so the next item on the checklist for the basic account setup is the call flow. So right here on the settings part on the bottom left-hand side is where you can find the settings. And from here, you can find the call flow section. Now, essentially, the call flow is a feature in the platform where you can customize how you want to forward or receive inbound calls that will be coming into your REsimpli phone numbers, whether you are using an answering service or if you want to segregate or set up those forwarding depending on your team members. May you want that to be forwarded to your acquisitions team, transaction coordinator, disposition managers. So you can do all of that by customizing your call flow. Now, in the call flow section, there are two options on how you can forward the calls. So right here, let me show you this. Right there. So currently we do have the in-app answering feature and the number forward option. So basically number forward is where you can add an external phone number, maybe your personal cell phone number, or if you are using like a VoIP number, maybe through Google Voice, Ring Central, smartphone. So you can definitely add that number as a forwarding number here in the call flow. Now, the second option is REsimpli in-app answering. So basically, it's a feature that we've added wherein you will be able to answer the calls real time within the web app and the mobile app on your phone. So if you're on the go and still want to follow up on your leads and make sure that you're not missing any calls, so you can definitely add the in-app answering. Now, one of the common questions is that what's the difference and what's the advantage between the REsimpli in-app answering and the number forward? So essentially, the number forward is okay because again, you will still be able to get that call. You will still be able to answer the call. It's just that once you receive the call, you will only see either the caller ID of that person that's calling you, or if you turned off this option right here, you will see the campaign number that they're calling, which is again still an advantage. But then with in-app answering, the beauty of this is that you will be able to know the complete details of that lead. So I do have a slide for that that I
Hey,
can show you.
Anthony, could I ask one question there? So basically
Sure.
what you're saying is every single time my phone rings, I'm getting forwarded messages. I only have the campaign phone number that we assign for it. What you're saying is if I go in there and toggle those settings, the caller of that
Mm,
campaign will display.
that's correct. If you turned on the option, which is, let me share my screen back.
Yeah.
This one.
And it's under settings there. Set up call flow. Got it.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So basically, with the in-app answering, again, the main difference with the number forward and in-app answering is that with in-app answering, you will be able to see the complete details of the that lead that's calling you. So right here, I do have an example screenshot of that. So basically, this is how it's going to look like once you start receiving inbound calls through the in-app answering. So you will be able to see the name of the lead, the phone number, the campaign that they are calling, and the campaign that they're under, essentially. And you will also see the properties that's attached to that specifically. So with that information alone, you will be able to gauge the conversation and basically backtrack on what was the last conversation that I had with this user. And of course, these property address that will pop up on the in-app answering pop-up model, you can click on that, which will route you to that lead profile. With that being said, you will be able to then see the conversation history or the activity log history of that specific lead, where it's going to be an advantage for you. So that is the beauty of in-app answering. And then of course, we do have other options here under the call flow. Like for example, if you have multiple team members that you want to forward the calls to, and you want them to receive the calls at the same time. So we do have the simultaneous forwarding option for that. So you can add up to 5 forwarding numbers here, right there. And you can set this up wherein all of those people will receive the phone call at the same time, and it will just depend on whoever will answer first. And then another option that we have is the round robin feature. So the round robin feature in the call flow will basically allow you to distribute the call among those team members. So let's say you have three team members that you want to receive the call in round robin format. So what's going to happen is that once an inbound call comes in, person number one will receive the call first. If person number one doesn't answer, then the call will get forwarded to person number two. If person number two doesn't answer, then the call gets forwarded to person number three, so on and so forth. And then, of course, another option that you have on top of those 3 forwarding options is the voicemail. So instead of you letting the missed calls to get routed to your personal voicemail, you can actually add a custom voicemail here in the platform. So that way, you can maybe add like a generic company voicemail. So you can add that and do that here in the call flow. And then other account setup for the call flow is the missed call SMS and missed call RVM. Now, the most I would say the missed call SMS is the frequently used feature under the call flow. Because again, the main function of this is it will automatically send out a text message whenever you get a missed call. So most of the messages that our majority of the users are putting here is just a general or a generic message that says someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Sorry, I missed your call, or something along those lines. And then for missed call RVM, so yes, you can still definitely use this. So it is basically a ringless voicemail that will be sent out whenever you get a missed call. Now, the only downside to this is that the deliverability rate of RVM is pretty low. So there might be a chance that the RVM won't be delivered, which is why most users prefer to use the missed call SMS. And then we have the repeat caller option. So the repeat caller option is basically a feature inside the call flow where you will be able to customize how do you want to forward those callbacks. Like let's say if you have an existing lead in the platform and you want the callback of that lead to be forwarded to another phone number instead of you. So you can definitely do that with the repeat caller option right here. Okay. And then before I forget, so if you notice under the call flow portion, there are two sections where you can set up the forwarding feature. There's business hours and non-business hours. So if you're going to set up business hours for all weekdays, let's say between 9 to 5. And you can also do the same thing with non-business hours. So basically what's going to happen is that those calls that will come in to your phone number outside of these hours that's set under business hours, that's what the system will follow under non-business hours. So whether you want those calls to be forwarded to voicemail maybe directly, or if you have another person that's going to be on shift outside of the business hours that you set in the call flow, so you can absolutely do that. You can either select single forward, simultaneous, or round robin, depending. Okay. Questions, clarifications before we proceed to the next part?
Yes,
So
I do, Anthony, there. On
Sure.
the forwarding thing, where basically my previous question for the caller ID and everything like that to come in, do I have to save the physical contact name to my addresses in my contact book? So at the beginning, you were saying if I push, let me see here. If I put caller ID to display caller ID's number, it's just going to show up as random phone numbers, correct? Unless I save it in my contact base.
That's correct. So
Okay.
some of the users, what they actually do is that they turn this off just for them to identify if the call that they are receiving is a business call or a lead call versus a personal call, is they disable this, and then the campaign phone number in their REsimpli account, they save those as part of their contacts in their phone book, in their phone.
Gotcha.
So what's going to happen is that once you receive a call, since you already saved those numbers in your phone, then you'll be able to identify if it's coming from your cold calling campaign, maybe SMS campaign, paper lead campaign. So you'll be able to identify if it's a valid lead call or a personal call.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Anthony.
Sure, sure. Next item on the checklist is buy numbers. So essentially, after you set up your call flow, the next thing that you can do in the system is to buy your phone numbers. Now, in terms of setting up your phone numbers in the system, you have two options on how you can do that. You can either buy the phone number directly from the platform, or you can also port your phone numbers over to REsimpli if you have existing numbers, maybe. So let's say if you're coming from another platform and you have existing numbers there that you want to continue using. So we do have a process for that where you can port those phone numbers. So all you need to do is to get in touch with us, and we'll provide you with the forms that you need to fill out to transfer over those numbers. Now, one of the most common questions that we receive regarding setting up the phone numbers is how to best set it up. Now, one of the things that I usually advise majority of the users that that I was on a call with before and even now is that whenever you set up a phone number, you must also consider what campaigns or what you are going to be using the phone numbers for. Because technically, the phone numbers in the platform or in REsimpli will act as tracking numbers for KPIs purposes. So best course of action related to that is if you're doing multiple campaigns and if you are targeting very specific lists under that campaign. So let's say you're doing cold calling, and then under your cold calling campaign, you're targeting multiple lists like absentee, pre-foreclosure, tax delinquents. So what you can do in terms of setting up your phone number is you can set up one phone number for each of those motivations. That way, whenever you're able to convert a prospect from your cold calling campaign to a qualified lead, and then you push it to your REsimpli account, then you'll have those campaigns ready. So let's say you have a lead converted from cold calling under the absentee list, you then attach that to your absentee campaign in REsimpli. If you have a lead converted from the tax delinquent list, you then push that to REsimpli and then attach that to your tax delinquent list. So with that process alone, you will be able to identify by the end of the day or by the end of every month which campaign worked out best and which campaign brought in more deals and brought in more leads on that specific campaign. So usually that is what I advise to the users in terms of setting up their phone numbers. But of course, there is also other options that you can do. Like for example, if you want to have a specific or direct number set for your team members that they can use to call out to follow up with those leads that they're working on, you can still absolutely do that. But one thing that you need to consider is that you need to still have one main phone number as your tracking number for those leads. So if you're doing multiple campaigns like paper lead, SEO, PPC, so you need to set up one main phone number for those leads as soon as they come into your account, just to make sure that the system will be able to track those leads. And then the direct numbers of your team members, whether it's the lead manager or the acquisitions, you can set up those phone numbers for them where they can use it whenever they're doing their follow-ups. Now, how it would look like is this. If you go here on the active leads, and I'll just pick a random lead here on my demo account. Let's say this one. All right. So this one, this particular lead right here is attached to my SMS blast campaign under the SMS blast probate. And this is the campaign phone number, meaning that is already tracked by the system that this lead is under that specific campaign. Now, let's say my lead manager or acquisition tries to follow up with this lead using his or her direct number. So how they can do that is they can just simply go to this portion, and whenever they're making the call or doing the call, you do have the option to change that phone number right here. So if they want to change the outbound caller ID for their account, for that lead alone, or for all the existing leads under their bucket, they can also select this option right here. And the beauty of this is that it will not change the campaign that's originally attached to that lead. So even if I use another campaign right here, let's say this, and I call this lead right here. So the outbound phone number that I am going to be using is this phone number right here, 9527. But the campaign number that is attached originally to this lead is the 1314 phone number. So if I call this lead, yes, I'll be calling from this number right here. The lead will answer. As soon as I end that call, the campaign won't change, meaning the tracking of your KPIs will not be interrupted. That will still remain under the original campaign that it's added to when the lead was submitted to your account. Okay. And also regarding the phone numbers, if you notice on the phone numbers page, we now have separate tabs for each of the phone numbers that you are going to be using inside the platform. So there's the tab for phone numbers that you are going to be using for seller leads, phone numbers for your buyers, phone numbers for your REsimpli dialer or the cold calling dialer, and then phone numbers for your vendors. Okay. So as soon as you set up your phone numbers, let's say you have a phone number under vendors here, and you want to use that number to call your seller leads. Right now, you can't do that. So only the phone numbers under your for lead section can be used to call out or to call those seller leads in your account. Okay. Yeah, we have a question here from Patrick. Yes, this is available for replay. We are going to be uploading the recording on our database. So rest assured, this will be, you can access this anytime. Okay. All right. Yeah. So next on the list here is porting your phone numbers, which again, I think I already discussed earlier. So if in any case you are starting out and you have existing numbers that you want to transfer over, you can absolutely do that with us. All you need to do is to fill out the form that we have to process the transfer of those phone numbers. So the time frame for that usually is around 2 to 4 weeks. So there might be delays here and there if if there's any issues, but most of the time it should be done within that time frame. Okay. And then next to the list is add or manage users. Now, this is also very important, especially for bigger teams that has multiple team members and let's say multiple people working for them. So right here on the settings part, you'll find the option for manage users. So this is essentially the page where you can add those team members that you are going to be working with inside the platform or inside REsimpli. So how you can proceed in adding a team member is you can just simply click the add new button on the top right-hand side. And from here, you will then be routed to this portion where you will need to fill out each section from basic details, role assignment, lead permissions, module permissions, and list tagging dialer if that person that you're going to be adding is going to be your cold caller. But if not, you can just skip this part and that's good to go. Now we'll start with the basic details. For the basic details, this is just going to be the first and last name, email, their country, and their phone number. So for this instance, I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this out. We can proceed to the next step. Okay. And then there we go. There we go. And then next to the basic details is role assignment. Now, this is also one of the things that is somehow confusing initially. So technically, the roles that's added on the account by default, those it doesn't come with their permissions per se. Now, what I mean by that is whatever role you are going to be adding to the new team member that's added on your account, it doesn't mean that they have a specific access. So let's say, for example, if you're going to add the owner role to that team member, let's say right here. So once you add the owner role, it doesn't automatically mean that that person that you're adding with the owner role is going to have all the access and all the permissions in the account. So the main process or the main purpose of the rules is for you to have that identifier within your company or within your team that that person is, let's say, the acquisition, that person is the lead manager, that person is the admin. Because after adding the role and determining what campaign or market you are going to be adding that person, the next part to this is going to be their permissions. So let's say I'm just going to add this person as the admin, primary market. So this one here is where you can see all of the campaigns that you want to have, that you want to add that person into, or that you want to have access for that person. Let's say I'm just going to add this. Hit add roles. And then you're done. So next now is the lead permissions. So for the lead permissions, this is where you can now set up what access would you like them to have in the leads portion or the lead module in the account. So right here is where you can decide if you want them to have access or see all the leads in your lead module or just the assigned ones. So if ever you want them to also manage their own pipeline per se and have that privacy for each of them, so you can just select the assigned leads only to make sure that they won't be confused with whoever is working on what specific leads. Then of course, the access type, you can either just select view only or full access. So that way, if you give them full access, they can do basically mostly everything on that specific lead. But of course, it doesn't mean that you can't limit that, because right here under permissions, we do have additional permissions here for the leads, where you cannot, or where you can disable their access to delete the leads, export the dispo tab, assign unassigned leads, or assign unclaimed leads. So you can also modify this. And then this portion right here is the access permission by status. So if you have, I think one of the best example is one of the users that I've had a call with before is that he wants to have this setup wherein his lead managers will, he wants his lead managers to only see the leads that they're working on under a specific status versus his acquisitions. So what we did is that we determined what lead status would he want to assign to the lead managers. So we determined it was only the new leads, no contact made, and that's it. That's basically it. So we disabled all of them right here. And then for the acquisitions, it's also a different access. So you can also modify that depending, of course, again, on how you want or what do you want those users, those team members to see under the active leads portion or the leads module in general. And then next to this is we have the module permissions. So the module permissions technically is referring to the modules that you see here on the left panel. So once you open this up, you'll then see all of those modules, and you can give them either no access, view only, or full access, depending on what are those modules that you want them, that you think is important for them. So you have that flexibility here. And again, going back on that conversation, whatever role that you are going to be adding to those team members, whether it's the co-owner role, owner role, you will still be able to modify their permissions. So no need to worry. Okay. And then additional permissions here at the bottom or other permissions are these ones. So you can also modify this, either grant them or just keep it as it is. Okay. And then once that's done, you can then proceed to list stacking dialers. If you're not going to be adding them as a cold caller, and if they're not going to be doing cold calling for you inside the platform, so you can just keep that as it is. Hit save module permission and then hit add user. So next to this, what's going to happen is that that team member that you've added recently will receive an email confirmation or an email verification from REsimpli. They can just click on that link to activate their email and set up their password to sign in to the account. Okay. Next item on the list is going to be import leads. So this is also very crucial. So importing leads is actually something that we have been doing for quite a while now. So essentially the process goes like this. If ever you have leads, you have bulk number of leads or like a huge number of leads that you want to import directly into the account, specifically the active leads page. So that is actually something that we will also help you with. So if ever you're coming from an old platform and you have leads there that are floating and you want to like carry them over and transition them over into your REsimpli account. So that is also something that we will help you with. Now, right now, with our current import process, we can import the leads either in the active, warm, or the dead leads section. And inside the active leads section, you can also decide to either import those under the new leads, no contact made, or contact made. For the other stages, that is something that's not available currently. So this is also part of the process that we are usually doing whenever we do an onboarding process. So we send that file to the users to follow in terms of what information can be included in the import request. But of course, if there's any custom data that you want to be included, we can certainly discuss that. And you can just request a call with one of our support team members to discuss that or talk directly to our import specialist. And another process regarding import is the list stacking. So the list stacking section, as everyone know, is the portion or the feature in the system where you can stack up all of your lists. And if you're in the process of creating that marketing list to target the most motivated seller leads, so you can definitely upload that list here directly on your end. So all you need to do is to make sure that the file is in CSV format and just hit add record here and hit bulk upload. So for this one, there can be instances that you might encounter an error, especially if the file that you're trying to upload has a lot of information that you're not able to map. So I would suggest to go over this process right here. Let me see if I can show you this. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. So basically, these are the available information that you can map whenever you're uploading a list in the list stacking section. So we've already added the option for you to map to owner names. So you can map owner 1 and owner 2. That's already available. And you can also map up to 10 phone numbers if you already have that, and 4 email addresses. So that is something that you can already upload in the system. All right. So next is we have the notification preferences. So this is actually something, or this is, you recently uploaded or updated this as part of a minor update or major update that we rolled out recently. So right here on the top right-hand side, if you go under the notification option, you'll now have the flexibility to enable or disable the web, email, or mobile notification on the actual profile on your account. And the beauty of this is that you'll have the flexibility as well to select which campaign in your account do you only want to receive those notifications from. So if ever, let's say, you are a lead manager and you're just assigned on specific campaigns, then you can just select those campaigns that you're assigned to, and the lead stages that you're also assigned to. That way, you won't be bombarded with a lot of email notifications or web notifications. And this is also segregated now per database. So we have the seller leads, buyers, vendors, general notifications, and then this one is for the notification sound, which is on the web notification. So this is also something that we recommend with in connection to the basic account setup. And then next is we have the drip campaigns. So drip campaigns is of course one of the things that we highly recommend in setting up when you are starting out or when you're starting to navigate your way into the platform. Now, right here under the settings portion, you'll find the automation section. That's where you can find the drip campaigns. Now, by default, each account already comes in with pre-made templates. There should be at least 7 or 8 templates that's already available for you to use. But of course, if there's a need for you to create your own drip campaign sequence, you can absolutely do that. So this is how it looks like when you are setting up a drip campaign. So we have 6 actions that you can select from. So you have direct mail, and we've already added more options now, by the way. So we have postcard, business letters, and yellow letters. That's already available. SMS, task, ringless voicemail, email, and webhook trigger. Now for webhook trigger, this is actually referring to if you are using like a third-party platform for your drip campaigns. Let's say one of the most notable ones that I've heard from other users is Paul Ducampo. I'm not sure if any one of you heard about him, but some of our users use his drip campaigns. So what they do is they connect those drips to their REsimpli account drip campaigns and just add a webhook right here. And of course, in terms of setting up your drip campaign, you do have an option to set up the delay duration and time span as to when exactly do you want the system to initiate those steps or actions. So you can set them by either minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months. All right, questions, clarification so far? Okay, I think we have one question. So Tara Allen, so are you referring to Paul Ducampo?
Yeah, sorry. Was it Paul DeCampo? Is that what you said?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Sure, sure.
Actually, can I ask one other question? Maybe
Yeah.
you've said this before, but if you use the REsimpli website and somebody fills out a form on the website, does that get pushed to the lead, or does that say in the website, or just get delivered to your email?
Oh yeah. If you are going to be using our website or if you're going to host your website within REsimpli, the forms in your website are already integrated directly to your REsimpli account. which means that any
Okay.
leads submitted to that website will get automatically added to your active lead section.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. All right, and then next is we have global tasks. So global tasks essentially is a feature in the platform where you can automate the process of creating specific tasks based on the lead stages or status. So it's just right beside the drip campaigns under settings. So right here. All right, there you go. So essentially how you can maximize or utilize this is if ever you have like a checklist of tasks that you want you or your team members to do whenever you transition a lead from status to status, then you can most certainly create that as part of your global task checklist. Best example is this. So on my demo account, I have all these tasks created and listed as part of the under contract status or stage. So basically what's going to happen now is that each time that I move a property from any lead status, whether it's new leads, due diligence, offers made, as soon as I move that lead into the under contract stage, all of these tasks will be automatically created by the system for me. And it's already determined who it will be assigned to. As for these one, majority of the tasks will be assigned to the owner, which means that the owner or whoever has the owner role added to that lead that is moved to the under contract stage will be notified of these tasks right here. So if you have, this is actually something that majority of the users use whenever they have like certain teams already set up, like their lead managers, acquisitions, and they already have that streamlined workflow. So they add all those specific checklists that they think that they need to do whenever they moved or like a lead manager does move the lead to the, let's say, appointment set maybe, or the offers made. So as soon as that lead hits that specific stage, then those automatic tasks will be created by the system. So this is something that I would recommend that you can play around now and talk to your team about. So you can also change this anytime and update this anytime. And then next is we have the active leads pipeline customization. So what I mean by this is if you go to the active leads section, by default, you have the new leads, no contact made, appointment set, due diligence, offers made, and under contract. So currently, there are 4 sections or 4 stages here that you can rename or change the title. So we have no contact made, appointment set, and due diligence. So what you can essentially do is you can change the title or rename the title of these stages according to your workflow. So if you want to have that stage that says pre-offer made, for example, you can absolutely do that right here. If you don't want to have that due diligence bucket added as part of your active leads pipeline. So that is something that you can do as well. And this is also one thing that I spend time with whenever I do a call with a user. So I always ask them like, how do you want to envision the flow of your leads whenever you are working on them in your pipeline. So, but majority of them or some of them just keep it as it is. But of course, you can also change this anytime you want. All right, and then last but not the least is download the mobile app for Android and iOS. So this is something that's also part of the basic account setup. So whenever you are on the go and you still want to keep track of your leads and follow up with your leads, so you can still do that on your phone via the mobile app that we have. All right, so those are the basic account setup checklist that we have currently. So we are actually working on something right now for the advanced account setup. So this is something that we will also share with you soon as we finalize the list. And it should also be part, or you should be able to see this from your accounts as well. Okay. Questions, clarifications. So we have a question here from Joe. Is it possible to change the LLC name registered to the account from the originally registered name? We have registered a new LLC for a wholesaling branch and would like to update the account with this new name. Joe, just to confirm, are you pertaining to the company name that you registered for 10 DLC?
That's correct. Yeah, we so we had an original name, but we're now only fix and flipping under that name and then have a separate name for the wholesaling. And so I would like to switch the name if possible to this new LLC name.
Got it, got it. Yeah, we can definitely do that. So what's gonna happen is that it will be treated as a new registration. So I can have someone from our 10 DLC team reach out to you and assist you with that. Sounds good?
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, sure. You're very much welcome. So that's it for today. Again, I just want to appreciate and thank you for your time today. Rest assured, this call is recorded and will be added to our help center, where which you can also access anytime. And all the previous recordings will also be added there as well. And Joe, I'll send you an email regarding that. I'll have one of our team members reach out to you regarding your request. Okay?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. You're very much welcome. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day.